concert brought together pensioners and senior citizens from throughout Newcastle and the Hunter Valley, eager to enjoy the entertainment provided by the Workers' Club. The theme of the week this year is "What's age got to do with it?" Association President Frank Watkins insists the answer is nothing.
Just take myself, for instance. Well, I'm 76 years of age, and I don't think age is... I think I'm keeping pace with the younger people at my age. So I don't think age has got anything to do with it.
Celebrations for Senior Citizens Week will continue in Newcastle tomorrow with a mixed indoor bowling tournament at the Newcastle Workers' Club. A concert will also be held at Cardiff Workers' Club from 10 a.m. to 12. Wednesday's entertainment includes an arts and crafts exhibition at the New Lambton Community Centre. On Thursday, a second concert will be held at Cardiff Workers' Club, along with an authentic Aussie picnic day at Civic Park. Friday's entertainment includes a concert at West Leagues Club, while on Saturday there are greyhound races at Beaumont Park.
The 16-footers played host last night to some of the competing sailors, club officials and representatives of the sponsor, the State Bank. It's the first time the State Bank has been involved with the event, but Regional Manager Colin Buttonshaw hinted last night that it won't be the last. This weekend the Sprint Series will once again be covered by NBN, and the heats will be shown on Sports Centre over the following weeks. The 28 boats will be whittled down to just 4 grand finalists, and therefore the draw for the heats was vital in determining who, if anyone, will get an easy run through. As it turned out, the heats are close to evenly matched, and race commentator Kevin Buxton believes it could be anyone's title.
I don't think any of the boats have an easy run through to the final. Like sprint racing is different to normal boat racing. It's only sailed over a short course, probably lasting only about, say, 10 minutes. And we've seen in the past, not necessarily the best boat in the fleet could win. In a short course, one mistake, you may lose 10 seconds and you want that mistake, but in a big course and you pick it up the next round. But in a sprint racing, one mistake and you might just as well go back to shore.
Every now and again, everyone makes a decision they later regret. Well, when I agreed to skydive, it seemed like a good idea. But when it came time for briefing and suiting up, jumping from a plane at 9,500 feet just didn't seem so appealing. Things have changed dramatically in the sport in the last few years. One of the latest innovations, and possibly the most significant in 20 years, is tandem skydiving, where a beginner like myself is harnessed to an experienced skydiver who controls the chute that we share. Tandem jumping was introduced in Australia just 4 months ago, and there are only 12 instructors Australia-wide who can take passengers up and down. 4 of those are based at the Newcastle Sports Parachute Club at Elderslie near Branxton, and the man I trusted my life to was Ray Palmer. It took 20 minutes to climb in our Cessna 185 to our jumping height of 9,500 feet, but would take only 4 minutes to come down. After climbing out onto the wing strut, and with my heart in my mouth, we free fell for 3,000 feet and covered that distance in just 18 seconds. Then Ray opened the chute and it was time for some leisurely flying. The sensation was like floating, and after the free fall, there was a chance to take it all in.
Hey, there he is, mate, look at that. Give him a wave. Take your hands off, give him a wave. Hey! Hey! Amazing view. Alright, isn't it? How far could we see, would you say? You can see right over to Newcastle over there. You just absolutely freak out when you jump away from the plane. Oh, you do, don't you? But turn around to the right again. Okay. We'll land that swimming pool, eh? Do you wanna? Nah. No, I didn't think so. What we're going to do now is we're going to put on a bit of brake. Yeah. We're going to come straight down on the drive. Right. Hey, all right. Yeah. That's something else.
Roosa Park, one of the state's oldest deer studs, is conducted on only 33 hectares, yet supports around 200 deer. The very nature of deer farming requires plenty of paddocks and laneways, and at the stud these subdivisions are put to the maximum use. Beresford Smith has found by studying the grazing habits of the various species of deer and the growth patterns of native grasses that by rotating his breeding groups and also by using goats, he can get maximum production from his land without too many other changes or costs.
Subdivide your paddocks into no more than 5 acre paddocks, possibly 8 at the very, very most, and completely utilise. When you're running deer, or 6 species of deer, as I said, we're farming 3 particularly, there's a preference for grasses and preference with different animals. Say for instance your red deer and your fallow deer, preferably on kikuyu, Rhodes grass, buffalo grass, natural grasses that are grown in the area. Your rooster deer will also eat the same grasses, but their preference is a couch grass. So what we do, we run the fallow deer and the red deer through first, utilise the paddock for probably 3 to 4 weeks, move them into another paddock, a fresh paddock, run the rooster deer behind them again, and to get complete utilisation, the farm also runs an Angora stud, an Ardoo stud, and also an Anglo-Nubian milking stud. We run those goats in to finish the paddocks off.
The fertiliser industry in Australia is a non-assisted industry, hasn't been assisted by government previously. It has a lot of cost burdens on it. There is a great change of pattern of use of types of fertiliser, and I guess there are two things in it all. One is trying to maintain a fertiliser industry in Australia, and the second is to look to see how that industry might develop in the future. There's a lot of potential money available for investment in the fertiliser industry in Australia. I'm going to make those investments unless they're sure about what the trade regime is going to be and what the demand is going to be.
Is it likely that a fertiliser industry based locally in Australia may lead to cheaper fertiliser prices?
I don't believe in the foreseeable future, that is in the immediate future, that it would do so because of current low world prices for fertilisers. But let me illustrate some of the problems we've got here. It costs the Australian fertiliser industry $20 million a year to bring phosphatic rock from Christmas Island because of shipping charges. You know, you can bring the stuff from Florida to Perth at the same price as you can bring it from Perth to Newcastle. It's not very good. Some of those things have to be fixed up.
Looking at the dairy cattle parading around the Newcastle showground, one could have been forgiven for believing the industry is in as fine a shape and condition as these cows. Alas, the truth is far removed. After a mass exodus of farmers from the milk sheds over the past decade, things have started to settle down, with production now keeping in line with demand. However, costs continue to rise, and those that are left are battling, trying to cut corners where possible, and in many cases, that means running the farm as a purely family operation.
Situation at the moment, I've been dairying some 26 years, and by ourselves, the wife and myself and family, and it's the worst that I've ever seen it at this particular time.
Bill Fraser runs a dairy in Aberdeen, and the state president of the Holstein Friesian Association is well aware of the problems confronting the industry. The answer, he says, lies with the government.
The government at this stage needs to make a decision, and to make a decision fairly promptly on the whole national milk marketing plan, and that will help. Therefore, I think eventually it gets back to consumers, unfortunately, that they're going to have to pay a little bit more for the product that we are producing. Then it comes back into our pockets.
Increasing the price of milk in the shops may not be popular with consumers, although by volume, milk remains the cheapest liquid available these days, and as well it's unparalleled for its nutritional value. The price rise is being sought to combat rising costs that are necessary if dairies are to continue running profitably.
We're battling against power costs. We've just had an 8% increase in power. We're battling against striking companies that's putting the price of machinery up doubled in the last 4 years on some particular items that the farmer's got to buy to make his hay, to feed his cattle and this type of thing.
Mr Morris says Cabinet is not looking at the wider ramifications of the push by the Western Australian businessman to corner a large slice of Australia's biggest company.
I believe so, Ray. I believe there is a difference of opinion between people like myself and some of the ministers. The difference is one perhaps which is qualitative. I can understand what the Cabinet's trying to achieve in terms of the market perceptions, but I think the core issue to this whole takeover bid is the future structure of Australian companies. The Cabinet isn't examining that, to my knowledge, and secondly, the Cabinet has made no provision to talk to its own members, or to its own caucus. It's talking to BHP and to Homes Accord, but it's not talking to members of the government. And I think there has to be a chance for us to at least make an input into the debate in Cabinet.
There is something about the magic of theatre that casts a spell on children. At Charlestown Square last night, the youngsters watched in fascinated delight as members of the theatre company staged a series of games and competitions. Over its 10-year history, the theatre company has always made a point of catering for the kids by staging the annual Christmas holiday show at Fort Scratchley. Helping to celebrate the birthday last night was the Ship of Fools clown troupe, including Willie Dewdrop, the world's greatest juggler. The Ship of Fools, like the theatre company, believes that theatre is an important part of children's education.
A 3-year-old boy went missing at about 11:30 this morning from Shepherd's Hill in King Edward Park. After an extensive police search, his body was found at the bottom of this cliff at about 2:15.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
The original linear accelerator, valued at $1.2 million, was destroyed as the result of smoke damage from a fire last November. Although it was thought at the time that the machine hadn't been damaged in the fire, acidic smoke had slowly eaten away at parts of the accelerator until repairs could no longer be done, and the machine was declared a write-off. The manufacturer, Varian, had originally estimated 18 months delivery time for a replacement machine. The federal member for Newcastle, Alan Morris, undertook negotiations over a month ago and announced the result today.
I contacted Qantas explaining that the machine had been bought by the public of Newcastle. It was a very true emergency, and could they consider giving thought to helping us? And Qantas were enormously responsive, and I want to publicly thank them for their consideration. We spent a lot of time organising the size of the machine, how much it weighed, all the bits and pieces, and now today we've been able to say that the machine is firstly ordered and secondly prepared for shipment on April the 30th or thereabouts. Well, the major benefit that we were seeking and have now achieved was that it would be available 4 weeks earlier, and 4 weeks for people who are cancer victims and their families is a very important time.
The replacement machine will weigh nearly 9,500 kilograms and occupies 19 cartons.
We'll be transporting it on a 747 combi aircraft, which has the main deck taken up by half passenger and half cargo. The rear cargo area on the main deck can take 10 tonnes, and these units, there's about 19 pieces, will occupy about half of the main deck cargo hold.
something like a cross between the Spanish Armada and the Keystone Cops. 9 oyster punts floundered down the Mile River before a large crowd of locals and visitors. The Mile Cup has been a popular part of the prawn festival since it began 3 years ago. The aim is not so much to win, but to make sure that nobody else does, and what followed was a sort of aquatic Rafferty's rules. The crews, mostly comprising enthusiastic locals, threw just about everything at one another. Flour, prawns, fish, even pig guts. I'm sure that if the boats had been fitted with the kitchen sink, that would have gone overboard too. The boat crewed by NBN personalities was a favourite target, and seemed lucky not to sink. For the record, the punt powered by the Tea Garden Swimming Club floated home first, but at that stage, nobody really cared.
A man was hoisted in an unconscious condition by Westpac rescue helicopter from seas disturbed by a strong current. He had been kept afloat in the water by Newcastle Beach surf lifesavers who went to his aid with a rescue boat and torpedo tubes. On the beach, paramedics and ambulance men worked for half an hour trying to revive the man. 2 lifesavers who had gone to his assistance were also hoisted from the water, suffering only from tiredness. Robert Jenkins helped keep the man afloat.
When we were out there, he was pretty delirious and there's no pulse, wasn't breathing. We just out there with him. All the board riders came in, they were really great, supported him, and we gave him mouth to mouth.
The man was taken by ambulance direct to the intensive care unit of the Royal Newcastle Hospital, but was dead on arrival. According to the Foundation's figures, the Hunter Valley, including Gosford and Wyong, has followed a statewide trend. The average cost of building a new private house has risen. In the 12-month period from December 1984 to December 1985, the average cost in the Hunter rose by roughly $9,000, an increase of more than 18%. At the same time, there has been a decrease in the number of building applications approved by the 15 local councils in the Hunter. In the last 6 months of 1984, over 2,800 private houses were approved. In the 6 months ending 1985, that number had dropped to 2,744. Research officer with the Hunter Valley Research Foundation, Ivan Skanes, explains why this trend has occurred.
Well, there seems to be 3 main reasons that we can identify. That is that the interest rates for home finance is fairly high at the moment, and associated with that there is quite a bit of competition for home finance at banks and building societies. We also have some influence from the introduction of the capital gains tax.
And what does this mean to the average person wanting to build a house?
Probably that it's going to be more difficult to get home finance.
Helen Hughes spoke to Country Rugby League President David Barnhill after last night's meeting.
The 12-point peace plan, as you put it, was never a proposal to solve the situation. It was a proposal for people to get around the table and discuss grievances. They were the problems named by Second Division why they wanted to break away, and we claimed that if they came back to the round table, discussed these problems with an arbiter present, maybe they could be all resolved. The media released a statement that Second Division accepted a peace plan without them discussing it. I believe the newspaper report that came out on Thursday or Friday said that Newcastle's Second Division accept a peace plan, whereas it had never been proposed as such at all. We only wanted a discussion between the 2 leagues. So I'm amazed at the way it was released. We never intended it that way.
Do you think it's possible for both sides to go back to the way things were at the beginning of 1985?
I definitely do. I wouldn't suggest it if I thought otherwise. The only reason I've suggested it tonight is it leaves the door open for the Second Division to play league under an administered body such as the CRO, and if they do come back we can look after them, and if they come back I'm quite sure then the discussion paper, which is all it was, will be discussed freely and openly with Second Division representatives and the Newcastle Rugby League.